Blacks are 12 times more likely to be shot by firearms. And with every shot that echoes out into the neighborhoods, places where you call home, the hood, or even ghettos, and also in dark, dark places where there's oppression and underprivileged, what they call neighborhoods. When you hear these shots, sometimes people have to hide up under beds. Sometimes people have to tell their kids to get down low. You may not live that life, but it's somebody out there that's living that life. And I want to share a story with you today. I haven't necessarily lived that life, but I've had my own life. And I want to tell you just how real gun violence is. When I was about 20, I would say about 19 actually. So I was like 19, around about 18 or 19. I got pregnant with my son. I was finna say 20 something. I'm thinking of my older daughter. But I got pregnant with my son and I was in California and I was out there with my cousin. And for some reason, she wanted me to get an abortion and the father did too. He was military. My grandmother had just fell sick. So my cousin, she invited me out to stay in California with her. It was the first time I would ever go to California. Her and her sister had been raised out there for years, even though they were born in Texas, but it would be my first time. So I was like, okay, sure. What else? There's nothing else. My immediate family's not, they kind of spread out. So let me go with my cousins out here in California. Immediately when I got there, that's when an earthquake hit. So I don't know if you remember that earthquake back in the 90s, but of course it was kind of scary because I'd never been through that before. I've been through tornadoes, but I've never been through an earthquake. So what happened is that she was married to a military person. She obviously had access to the base and to the military clubs and different accessories that a military are afforded privileges because of her marriage to her husband. So she would invite us out, which were her cousins, and we were younger. She was older. She would, take us to the military base. And of course, I met a dude. He was older than me, of course, ended up getting pregnant, to make a long story short. But for some reason, they were just urging me to get an abortion, urging me to get an abortion. And I didn't want to get that abortion. And so I was like, well, I'll just move back to Texas because things wasn't going right. They wasn't going as planned. So I ended up moving back to Texas and kind of fending, being on my own and fending from there. But I did. I had my son, and I'm going to fast forward because I don't want to give too much details. I want to stay on track. Fast forward when I had my son at this time was about a year old. Beautiful young man, curly little locks, dark little chocolate skin, very, very handsome. To be honest with you, he looked like his father. He had some features of mine, but he definitely looked like his father. His father was very handsome. And I talked to his father about a year later, and I asked his father because by this time his father wasn't in the military anymore. So I didn't quite know what was going on, but I knew he wasn't in the military no more and he went back to Louisiana. And so I said, well, do you want to see your son? Because he hadn't seen his son. And he was like, sure, okay, bring him on. And so I got the bus ticket. I went to Louisiana, which was Baton Rouge. I take my son, I pack bags, and I take the son to go see him. I'm thinking everything's cool. We having fun. We're enjoying each other. Old times, catching up and stuff like that. And everything appears to be going fine. He cooks the child oatmeal and we eat breakfast. We laugh and talk. We do some other things personal. Before you know it, I'm on the bed with my son. I don't even remember what I was doing at the time, but I just remember he pulls a gun out. And when he pulls this gun out, he places it to my head. My 1-year-old son is screaming, hollering. All I can remember is that my child, I wasn't even too much thinking about myself in that moment. Like, I wasn't even afraid for myself. It was the scream, it was the daunting scream, the absolute daunting scream of my son. Like my child, if anybody knew Darius was this quiet baby. He didn't bother people. He was very observative and everybody loved him. They call him Little Dowry. He was just beautiful locks. And he rarely ever cried. Rarely ever cried. He could be wet, it could be anything going on, and he just wouldn't bother. He just never cried. He was just this baby who was just a very good baby, very proper, Not to say that when he didn't need something, he wouldn't, but he just wasn't this troublesome child. And to hear him scream was such a daunting. I knew that in that moment, something was being violated. Something was happening. And I can't describe it. I just knew to hear my son's voice like that. And I remember telling his father, I want you to take me, while he's holding this gun to my head, me and my child to Greyhound. You will never, ever see us again. Now, you may ask, what transitioned for him to go from all of a sudden y'all was having a good time, eating oatmeal, everything was fine. You understand what I'm saying? To him doing that. Well, there was a key factor that he mentioned that I'm going to mention now. And to tie it all in, now you will find out why they want the abortions, why all this stuff was happening. Come to find out, he was married. I had no idea that the man was married. The military ended up sending me a letter, and they had dishonorably discharged him because he was married. But he was married to a foreigner. So he was married to a Philippine woman. And come to find out that guys would marry foreign women or Philippine women. They really wouldn't be with them, but they would marry them because you get extra money from the military. So he wasn't with her per se, but he was married to her. And unbeknownst to me, I had no idea, of course. But his thing was that when you file child support in the state of Texas had this law. I don't know if they still have it because my child is almost 30 now. But during that time, they had this law where you, the father, would be automatically pinned for child support. So of course this ended up getting back to the military. Unbeknownst to me, it's a lot of things I just didn't know. I was out of the know on. He was way older. Of course, I'm just this 19 girl, 18, 19-year-old girl who gets pregnant by this dude. And because he didn't want to pay child support, because he never told the truth about who he was and what he was about, he ends up wanting to pull this gun. But just to show you just that something in that moment could have happened. My son could have been without a mother. Anything could have happened, just to let you know. So I just want to let you know, I'm not talking from a place of I'm just trying to talk to you because I need clicks, fans, and views. I'm talking to you from a place of I understand just how serious gun violence is. And I'm also talking from a place of I've lived in hoods. As a child, I went to H.S. Thompson. I was in South Dallas projects. And I've stayed in middle class. And I understand that from both angles. I've been in Compton, I've been in Watts, and I understand what they call gun violence. So understand, when I come to you today, I'm coming to you from my sincere research, my sincere effort to share with you on what I believe that you really need insight into too, so that you can really understand that this is an issue that is so embedded in the Black community and that it is really truly time for some real change. We're not talking about that, stuff that we keep selling over and over and over and over and over, but about white supremacy and this and this and that. It's time for us to take responsibility, and it's time for us to really look at some stuff. I'm going to come to you with some stats today. I'm going to break this down to you, what we're going to go over today. I'm going to go over inner cities and the impact mainly amongst Black neighborhoods. I'm also going to touch on the economic impact that it has on you and your families. Because a lot of people say, well, they ain't got nothing to do with me. Well, yes, it does. Because when you're dealing with politics, it's an economic factor that is going on. I'm also going to touch on the decision makers, why it's important. Guys, just because you stay in hoods, just because you stay in lower income areas, just because you stay in the inner cities, do not think for one moment that you should not be educated on politics. And that's what this channel is all about, the Critical Line Network, a channel and podcast where we meet together and I give insights and I share with you insights. You understand what I'm saying? I break down analysis to you, but also we have a conversation, because that's what's sparking our transformation. You understand what I'm saying? It all starts with an idea. It all starts with our voices. And so the last thing I'm going to touch on is what steps we can take to make things better. Now, I'm going to show you from a political standpoint of view of how Republicans and Democrats view gun violence and gun control. But also, I'm going to share with you on what we can do as a people to make things better. So stay with me, stay tuned, and I'm going to be right back. Welcome back to the Critical Line Network, where insight meets analysis and where conversation spark transformation. I am your host, IBK. TCLN is designed with you in mind. It is designed with people in whom the world looks upon and say, they're quite not educated, they're just thugs, and they're just this, and they don't understand, they're not smart. You know how many times I've been called dumb? I'm just saying, guess. Well, honey, ever since a child. So that's why I wanted to bring this type of information to you. It's about healing, it's about education, and it's about growth. So I would love for you to subscribe, to like and share. I need for you to like and share and also subscribe. But we're going to go ahead and dive on in. Again, I'm going to touch on a little bit things that have to do with the economic impact of what gun violence is doing to you in those communities, how mental health is viewed towards you all, how law enforcement stays involved in these things, about the whole entire quality of your life. You understand what I'm saying? And how this is really affecting you, how you really have to understand that you're going to have to do something different. You can't just wait on others to do something different. You have to do it as a collective, as a whole. And it affects housing. You understand what I'm saying? What they call, I think they call it gentrification, how they're rearranging things and pushing people out of neighborhoods, building new things and building greater things. And then you guys are not invited to the party. So it's affecting everything, you guys. So it's time to pay attention. It's time to be the smart creatures that you know that God designed you to be. There were some things put out into your communities that started to dumb you down, started to make you unworthy, started to call you B's and H's and just started to treat you like trash. You understand what I'm saying? In one moment it's acting like it's inspiring you. The next moment you're nothing but B's and H's and N words, niggas. So it's time to, and we've all said the N word. We get pissed. We all said the N word. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the nullifying down of a whole entire community so that you can't think, do, and be for yourselves, so that you would get into criminal activity, so that you would be caught up. That's why I created this channel. I've been there, honey. Listen, I want to tell you, I've been there. I've been right where you are. I haven't necessarily been on drugs or anything like that, but I've been to jails. I've been locked up. I've been set up. I've been lied on. I've been told that you're not going nowhere in life. I've been stepped on. I've been everything you can name from a child, from elementary school on up. So that's my heart here. And so I hope you understand that. But let's go ahead and start diving into some stuff, okay? So I know you say, IBK, this is a game that they play in politics. You're right. There is this game going on. But do you know how real that game is? Because decisions are being made that affect you every single day. They affect you going in and out of jail. They affect your families. They're your children that you're being separated from while you're in jail because of these criminal activities and because of these snares, tears, and traps. And because of policies and laws that are being put in place, because you're not reading and you don't understand, and you don't understand how you're being affected. So it may be a game that they play, but just know this, that game is real and it do affect you, okay? So let's just start off with that. And let's just go ahead and let's just cover gun violence and it's just its impact. So again, I just want to, number one, I just want to lay this down first. Now, I don't know if you've been watching the news, because I'm pretty sure you have. You know about the political debates with Harris and Trump. So Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, and then their VPs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to break a little bit information down to you from the recent presidential debate that just happened. So I want you to listen to me closely. I want you to kind of like relax, put your headsets on. We're going to go through a little bit of information, but this is important for you guys. Stop thinking that, that doesn't matter. It doesn't care. Yes, it does matter. It matters what people are thinking who are in powers or positions, who have the power to make your whole world go around. Now, I'm not saying outside of God. That's not what I'm saying. But these laws and these things do affect you. So let's go through a few of them so you can kind of get an insight into what people are thinking about politically and how those things are going to affect you, okay? So we're going to start off with, so the people who are running with Kamala Harris is going to be the VP Tim Walz. The VP JD Vance is running with Donald Trump. So Donald Trump, Republican, Kamala Harris is Democrat. So I'm not going to get involved in who's right, who's wrong. That's not what I'm here for. What I'm here for is to give you the information. It's up to you to think and critique for your life. I have my own opinions, but right now that's not what I'm voicing. I'm giving to you straight information, okay? This information came from the Washington Post and also people.com. So, number one, the election integrity and democracy. So Waltz refocused. So I'm gonna tell you what each focus is about when I name each overview and what the focus is about. So you'll have a little bit of insight again. Waltz focused heavily on democracy, questioning Vance on Trump's stance regarding 2020 election. Vance focused more on future elections rather than relitigating 2020. Immigration. Waltz defended a past immigration bill that he claimed was the toughest yet fair. Vance criticized the Biden administration for handling immigration and particularly regarding Haitian migrants and clashed with moderators on discussing this topic. Gun control. Waltz supported more stringent gun control measures, while Vance opposed them, and he focused more on the need and the address of mental health issues instead of restricting the Second Amendment rights. A little bit later in the show, I'm going to go over with you about the Second Amendment rights, okay? They went over abortion, reproductive rights, another focal point, which Waltz taking a strong stance in favor of abortion rights. That's important, guys. You need to know this because you need to know that the Black community is the highest community that is affected by abortions. Abortions means to terminate a pregnancy, to keep people from being born, to experience this life just like you are. And he described them as fundamental freedoms. Vance maintained a conservative stance, opposing abortion and aligning with Trump's policy on this issue. Foreign policy, Iran. Vance criticized Harris and Biden's administration for allowing Iran to get closer to developing nuclear weapons, asserting that Trump made the world a safer place. On the other hand, of course, Waltz stated his stance on Kamala, and he was stating that they made it safer. Healthcare. There was a brief discussion around healthcare reform where Vance dismissed the need to provide Trump's detailed healthcare plan. Now, remember, when they say this is just people in the news saying these things. This is not what these guys are actually doing. This is what people are saying, okay? So I'm getting this from them. Plans and debating the setting and suggesting that the policy being death wasn't suited for such formats. In other words, he was saying in order for me to go into big details about these things, they don't have enough time to do it on that platform and that they need to do additional interviews. Economy and taxes. Vance focused more on reducing taxes and deregulation as ways to boost the economy. Waltz focused more on the support for increasing taxes to fund social programs. Again, I want you guys to think about that. I know social programs are helpful, but that's not where you want to stay because poverty causes crime. Crime is linked, well, I wouldn't say it caused crime, but it's linked to crime. And so you want to be educated. You want to get up. You want to have upward mobility. You're not really wanting to stay just stuck on social programs. I'm not saying that they're not helpful. What I'm saying is that we got to move beyond that. Me, you, everybody. Climate change. Waltz expressed strong support for aggressive climate change policies, renewable energy solutions, and Vance, on the other hand, went towards the Biden administration and the approach for claiming that it hurt American energy independence and it relied too heavily on global agreements that disadvantaged the U.S. Crime and policing. This is important. See, this is why I'm saying, guys, some of this stuff is very, very important. Really, all of it, but most definitely some of this stuff, because you have to understand there are laws that are always put into place and they do affect you. So let's get to crime and policing. Watts defended his actions during George Floyd protests as the governor of Minnesota, emphasizing police reform and the need for community trust in law enforcement. On the other hand, Vance took a law and order stance, attacking Watts' handling of riots and associating it with liberal failures in managing public safety. Okay, so I just wanted to go a little bit into that, and I'm gonna go leave you with the last one. Military and veterans. Both candidates touch on their connections to the military service. Watts was a former National Guard, according to what they have to say. He scrutinized a past statement about his service during the Tiananmen Square protest, and he admitted to misspeaking. On the other hand, Vance, a Marine Corps veteran, emphasized the need for better support for veterans and stronger defense policies. Okay? So I just wanted to leave you with that, because these are the issues that they fight about in America. Now you would say, well, what they got to do with us? I'm finna show you. All of it does, but I'm definitely finna show you, because I'm gonna point out some things. Crime and policing, economy and taxes, healthcare, gun control, okay, immigration. Believe it or not, because if you guys keep this violence up and this stuff going on, you're going to find yourselves locked up, and they're going to be foreigners that take your place. It's just that simple. So these things do affect you whether you realize it or not. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover what I went over earlier. We're going to start with gun control. I just wanted you to get a background of just a little bit tidbits. You can, and I want to give you some advice. You have a cell phone. All of you guys have a cell phone, no matter what you do. Go to a app, or go to Google and type in chat, CHAT, GPT. Just type it in. All you got to do, you can either download the app on your phone, or all you got to do is put try now. Type in things that you want to learn. It will pull it up for you less than 1.2 seconds. There's different ways you can read now. There's different ways you can study now. You have YouTube, you have videos. You don't have to sit in a boring classroom and read a boring book all day long. Even though I'm an advocate for books and you guys need to read. Seriously. Like they say, that's why people get in trouble all the time. They need to learn how to read sometimes. Know your stuff. Know what's going on. Educate yourselves. Get savvy in business ideas. Educate yourself. Because when people have criminal backgrounds, they're going to be able to need to make a way for themselves. You can't do repetitive crime. It's going to keep you locked up. So you're going to have to think about different ways on how you can do things. And business entrepreneurship is one of those ways. Because who gonna check you, boo? So you start your own little businesses, you do your own little things, and you have online, just as long as you're doing things legal. You understand that? So gun control. Walz supported more stringent gun control measures, while Vance opposed them, focusing on the need to address mental health issues instead of restricting the Second Amendment. The reason why I want to reiterate that, because you have to look at how two parties are thinking. One party, which is the Democratic Party, is thinking about stringent gun control measures. The other party is thinking about, no, we should have the right to do what we need to do with our guns, but we need to focus more on mental health, which is controlling all this so-called stuff that's going on in our society. This is according to how these two people think. Now, I want to stop, take a breather, and I want to do a Q&A. I'm not for sure how many of you are savvy in politics. I'm not for sure when it comes to gun violence, how much you really know and how much you don't know, and what your communities all look like. You understand what I'm saying? I haven't been to every community. But I want to ask you this question. What are some of the things that you believe can be done in your communities, or in communities in general, if you don't live in these communities, that I'm not talking about that the government can do. I'm talking about where we can do as a people, so that we can minimize that violence and start tackling and minimizing that violence amongst the Black community in hoods. in neighborhoods, in low income areas where there's underrepresented people. I would love for you to leave your comments. I would love for you to give some of your insight. Again, this channel is about learning, growing, becoming better. And so hopefully you will do that, okay? Now, also don't forget to like, share, and to subscribe. Please do. Please do. I need your support for those who really understand what I'm saying and understand what I'm trying to do. And please go ahead and subscribe. Gun control remains one of the most volatile issues that are discussed in America. And why is that? Because there are people who believe in their guns and they don't want you to bother them about their guns. There are people who feel that they need to protect their homes just in case violence break out. And then there are people who don't believe in guns at all. They just believe maybe in staying safe neighborhoods and all that kind of stuff. But what do you do when you don't have that option? And what do you do when guns are loaded in your communities and things are happening all around you? And you don't have the finances to just pick up and move all the time, or to just readjust your life like you would love to readjust it in the moment. Well, I want to go over some of the concerns of these things, and I want to touch on, this public safety, constitutional rights, and societal violence. So remember, I'm talking to you from two different points. I'm talking to you from a point of where we're discussing the hood, we're discussing the ghettos, and we're discussing ourselves and how we get better. But I'm also talking about it from a political stance too, because you guys need both of those parts so that you can start making better decisions for your life, and then you help others, okay? So, Second Amendment rights is the right to bear arms. It is enshrined in the U.S. Constitution, and for many Americans, it's a safeguard against tyranny, like I was saying. So, understand the Second Amendment rights is your right to bear arms. Now, of course, if you got a criminal background, they don't pretty much allow that. So, but just understand that guns are going to be here because it's in the Constitution. So they're not going to get rid of it. So the first thing is to understand is that guns are going to be here. It's the Second Amendment right. It's going to be here. So that's the first point that you need to understand. So it's not like we can just solve the problem by getting rid of all the guns. That's not a solution because they're going to be here. Gun violence. Now I want to tap into some stats with you guys. I'm going to go quickly so it won't be boring to you. But there's a time and place for everything, guys. There's a time and place to get your entertainment on and for you to laugh and you talk and you have fun. But then there's a time and place where you need to educate yourselves. There's different platforms do different things. You're not glued to one platform. I'm not glued to one platform. Sometimes I'm scrolling, I'm looking at stuff that's funny and I'm having fun and I'm laughing at little kids and little babies and funny comedy stuff going on. And then there is times where I'm listening to music, and then there is times where I am educating myself. I am learning some things. And then there's times where I'm working on my own channel and I'm putting things together for you guys so I can bring it back to you. Again, this is about education, health, healing, and growth. It's not an entertainment channel. This is what it's about. So when you need education, you need healing, you need growth, or you need insight, this is where you come, okay? So I want to touch on mental health and gun violence. I'm going to give you their way of talking, and then I'm going to give you my experience and what I know for sure. So they believe that a lot of mental health is the reason for the gun violence in America. A part of that is true. I can say that because when you're in your right mind, no one wants to be just going around killing people for the sake of killing folks when you're in your right self. So part of that is true. There have been over 48,000 in 2001 numbers of deaths through homicide and suicide when it comes to gun violence. So 54% was for suicides. Listen up, guys. 54% was from suicides. 43 were from homicides. You see the dynamic: suicide, homicide, killing the self, are being killed. Mass shootings. As of October 2023, there has been 500 mass shootings. Okay, that means your school, high profile incidents, people going to locations, shooting at mass areas like Walmart and all that kind of stuff. I want to show you something here. According to gun ownership, that means everybody in the United States of America who owns a gun, who is registered as owning a gun, is way more because some people are not registered, but who are registered. The U.S. has the highest gun ownership rate in the world. They said in the world. Ownership rate. It's around 120.5 guns per 100 residents. They're saying that there are more guns than there are people. That's the registered guns, y'all. That's not the guns that are not registered, okay? And we all know a lot of guns in the hood ain't registered. And why is that? Because people have criminal backgrounds, you know. And a lot of times they can't get firearms. So just think about those things. If you have to stop this video, go back and listen. There may be distractions going on, all kind of stuff. That's fine. Stop it. Go back and listen. Go back and pick up some points. Get it in your mind. See what's really going on. That's fine. I do that all the time, child, when I'm listening to something. We're going to go to demographics. We're looking at age groups. Firearms are the leading cause of death for American children and teenagers ages 1 to 19. In a 2020 report, over 4,300 children or youth were killed by guns. Now we're going to tap into race. Gun homicide rates, not suicide, but homicide, killings. Gun homicide rates affect African American communities. 12 times more likely, like I said in the beginning, to be killed by a firearm. Listen up, men. Listen up. Men are more likely to die from gun violence than women. Now, we know that in the hoods and the neighborhoods. We know that in white middle class and all of that. For some reason, men die a lot with gun violence. They do. Now, let's talk about the economic impact. Because the reason why I want to hit on this, because I want you to understand how this really affects you on every level. I'm going to give you a step, right? So let's just say you're Johnny and you stay in a low income neighborhood and I wouldn't say Johnny. Let's just say Johnny. And you stay in a low income neighborhood. You're not a bad person. You try to do your best. You've been to jail a couple of times because you got caught up with the wrong friend. And you're just trying to live the best life that you can live, right? But unfortunately, you keep struggling and keep struggling and keep struggling because you've been to jail a couple of times. You have some things on your background. You know that you're a good person, but this is being used against you when it comes to applications. You hear about all these beautiful stories about how these Black people are getting fundings and how they're getting all this stuff and how they're being helped and how they're helping people in prison and how all this stuff is helping. But every time you look around, you're not seeing it for you and you're not seeing it for others that look like you. I know. Been there, done that, baby. Raise my hand in the class of life. What I am trying to share with you today is that yes, gun violence and any other law and any other thing and decisions that Americans are making when it comes to politics has an effect on you, no matter what. I don't care if you never made a mistake or you have made a mistake. It has an effect. Estimated is $280 billion annually, which includes direct costs as far as healthcare, law enforcement, loss of wages, quality of life, all these things. And you say, okay, I know that. I know. But how that's going to help me though? I'm trying to tell you now. Some things you're going to have to do is going to have to be outside the system. I'm going to go on and break down the truth to you. The system is a competitive force. Once you have been in any type of mental institutions, any type of jailhouses, any type of stuff, you have what's called a label on you or a record. And depending on what you have done, there are certain things, even though you may haven't done it in a while and you've been doing your best and you've been staying out of trouble, there are certain things that people use as a competitive advantage to tell you no. It's like weaning you out. So the solution is that you're going to have to start tapping into who you are, what your gifts and talents are, and how you can build a business around that, and how you can start helping other people. You're going to have to stop hanging out on them corners. You're going to have to stop hanging at the clubs. You're going to have to take control. You're going to have to start reading. If you don't like to read too much, I gave you a resource earlier. It's one of the most best resources that YouTubers are using. All kinds of people are using. Businesses are using. Companies are using. Everybody uses. It's called Chat GPT. You can research anything you want to do. Let's just say you say, well, I like to draw. Or let's just say you say, well, I like to make t-shirts. I like to do positive things on t-shirts and stuff. Get your Chat GPT out, get your phone. How to start a business making t-shirts. How to start a business speaking. Maybe you want to go publicly speak on stages or something. How to do this and how to do that. And just start breaking things down. Start using your mind, asking questions. Stop letting people be your competitive force, leaving you on corners, leaving you at clubs, leaving you on the couch, leaving you watching everybody else on YouTube, leaving you watching everybody else's stories about how they made it, how they overcame jail, how they did this and how they did that, and you can't seem to find your way. Because you can. You're going to have to make a hardcore decision that you're going to stop hanging with people that ain't trying to change. Because that's how you keep getting locked up. That's how things keep happening. It's not how it always happens, but it's one of the ways of how it happens. And you're going to have to buckle down. And you're going to have to say, okay, they keep closing these doors on me. I don't even have a criminal background like that. And honey, they try to close doors on me. So you're going to have to think of ways and think of things. You're going to have to say, what do I like to do? What am I good at? And then you're going to have to start self-teaching yourself. Everything I do today, I teach myself. Nobody teaching me nothing. I'll go watch a YouTube video. I study. I learn something. I'll read an article. I'll read a book. I do whatever it takes. And that's what you're going to have to do. It's exactly what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to educate yourself. You're going to have to sit down. Because one thing that they're doing in this policy decision making is they're going to make these laws. They're going to make their choices. But what are you going to be doing on your end that's going to be helping you to be better as an individual? And then you can go out and help the next one. See, I'm sitting right before you talking to you today. Do you know that I've been thrown in a jailhouse, man? Not necessarily because I was a criminal, but for just speaking up for what was right. In my younger years, I got thrown in jail because I was hanging around the wrong people. Hanging around gangs, hanging around stuff, and I got in trouble. You understand that? So I'm not talking to you from a perspective that I don't know what I'm talking about. I know exactly what I'm talking about. And these things I'm saying to you, they're very truthful. And if you don't pay attention, I'm telling you, the world is not going to come and hold you by the hands. The world is not going to come and say, oh man, it's just not going to do it. It's going to keep advancing itself, keep advancing its own, and keep leaving you behind. So 5 and 10 and 20 and 30 minutes a day, go off to yourself. Look at your phone. Think about things that you can look up and research. Use Chat GPT. It'll do it all for you very, very quickly. And then what you do is you do step by step. Go check out your free library book. If you can't do that, use chat to do all your research. And then just start looking at YouTube videos. Start learning ideas. Start feeding yourself positive stuff. Stop listening to this B and H ho music. Stop listening to this nigga that music. Start filling yourself with some positive motivation. Start encouraging each other on the corner. Start lifting each other up. And if you see somebody hating, walk away from them. Because if you don't, and people see you trying to achieve something, they're going to get jealous and try to slight you. Now, if you beyond that level and you're older and you're your 30s and your 40s and life has dealt you a blow, honey, I'm your age. I'm on up there. And trust me, life for me ain't been no crystal stair. You better know it, honey. It ain't been no crystal stair for me. But I keep pushing. I keep finding a way. I keep thinking of things. And while I be trying to do that for me, I be thinking about certain people just like yourselves. And what can I offer? What can I give? What can I share? You understand that? Because I understand those places. I've been to Watts. I've been to Compton. I've seen them pushing babies around in strollers. I've seen people just sitting there. I've seen people got so much talent and so much brilliance, but they've been nullified down. And the world just walks past them and pass them by. And you know why? Because it's all about that competition and hatred, baby. I can't let you rise above me. I got to make my bread. I got to do my thing. And I'm not saying everybody's like that. Of course, you got people trying to help. But we all know ain't nobody out there handing homeless people $1,000. Ain't nobody out there coming to pick you up in a Rolls Royce to take you to their job and to help you out. Ain't nobody out there seeing about you. So while the government and politics, and I'm educating you a little bit on these politics, while they're making their decisions with legislation and what they're going to do with gun control, you got to think about mental health, how they're going to label you with mental health, the laws that are going to be put in place, these institutions that people will be thrown in if you're not careful. That's why you got to make better decisions in these communities. These laws will and do affect you. You may not think they do, but they do. They do. They do, guys. They do. And so I just wanted to offer up just one way and one solution outside of politics that everybody is trying to do now. And that one solution is called entrepreneurship. And entrepreneurship is just simple for I take a risk on myself and take my gifts and my talents and think about what I can build as a business and help others. That's really all it means. It got all the fancy terms to it, but that's really all it means. It means you just taking a risk on yourself. You betting on yourself. You want something better. You want to do better. You don't want to stay in that cycle. That cycle of just smoking weed and just chilling all the time and going nowhere. Hearing everybody else talking about their prison war stories and how they came out and what they did, but everybody else just being left behind. You want to do things a little bit more different. And it's going to take time. Ain't no magic, ain't no fairy tale, ain't no none of that. And it ain't easy at all, you guys. But I'm going to tell you something. You got to press toward it, and it is doable. One of the first things you're going to have to do, and I'm going to tell you the truth, and you may not want to hear this. Some of that negative music, you guys are going to have to get out of your phone, out of your life. That stuff is not doing nothing but propagating curses towards you, propagating curses over you. And I am telling you, some of that stuff you're going to have to lay down and find you a more positive vibe and a more positive tone. I'm sorry, guys. Some steps you're going to have to take on your own. You're just going to have to do these things. It ain't going to be easy, but you have to do it. I know that music can be addictive, by the way. I was once young myself. Baby, woof. Ain't no music group I couldn't name you that we young folks didn't know about, wasn't addicted to, and wasn't bobbing to. But it affects you, whether you know it or not. It affects you. So with that being said, I'm going to start just closing this out a little bit because this has ran long. I'll do a part 2 if you guys want me to do a part 2 and dive even a little bit deeper. But I just want to wrap up these final words for you. I do want to do this. I want to wrap up these final words for you. And the final words are this. You came into this world. You did not ask for the path that you asked for. But unfortunately, there were some snares, there were some tears, and there were some traps that you were not cognizantly aware of. And it set you on a path and it set you on a cycle of sometimes a spiral and sometimes a downward spiral. But I want you to know that you yourselves, no matter what, you really do have the power to create. I'm creating this right now. Everything you see on my channel, I created. You have the power to do something different, and you have the power to do something positive. You really do. It's not easy. If I told you all of the list of laundry things that I go through, the attacks, the insults, the targeting, all of that, I go through it all the time, every day. It's real, but I have to do what I have to do, right? And I just want to say to you, no matter who you are, number one, there is no guilt to you as long as you know that your life you're trying to make better and do better. Number two, there is nobody on the face of this earth that can ever judge you. The majority of them just never got caught. That's all. Whereas you got set up so you could be thrown away out of competition. They bust just never got caught. So no one can judge you, right? And then number three, what I want to say to you is that I want to bring a little bit of spiritual into it, because a lot of people really don't know this, but there are some races that don't want to see you be better. They don't want to see you heal as a community of people. A lot of times you are gifted, you are talented, you are bright, you just don't know it, and you act nullified down, and they don't want to see you do better. There are literal witches, believe it or not, that speak curses over races against the black race. You're evil. All of y'all are criminals. All of you are this. I'm talking about speaking incantations, speaking curses, vibrating it, vibrating it, vibrating it, vibrating it, stoking that energy. There are also the music that's doing that, numbing you down. Nigga this, nigga that, hold this, I'll kill a nigga, this, all that stupid stuff. So you must really understand that in order for you to tap into who you are, you're going to have to unplug from what you call entertainment and plug into things that are more positive. That's the first step you're going to have to do. And I just want to leave you with that today, okay? I also want to leave where my sources came from. They came from GVA, which is the Gun Violence Archive, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, also the Pew Research, and Everytown for Gun Safety. So some of the stats and things that I went over with you today, that is some of the resources it came from. I want you to stay inspired, and I want you to remember this fun fact, because I looked up a fun fact for the political for you. Do you know that Switzerland owns a lot of guns, just like the US do, but their gun violence rate is lower, way lower? Did you know that? It's a fun fact for you guys. So as you're in your neighborhood, as you are in your communities, know that it's going to start with something, and that something is going to start with you recognizing that yes, it can be done differently. Now you have all the open way to be as creative if you want, but you're going to have to do it more positively. You're going to have to start with the first step, getting all that negative vibrational energy off from around you guys. Start putting more positive towards you guys, and then start thinking of ways on how you can use your gifts and talents to help others and make some money with it. Okay? You guys have a brilliant day. I hope you got a little bit out of politics, but I also hope you understand that you can change these hoods. You don't have to wait on people to build buildings. You don't have to wait on people to come in and give you social programs. It starts in your minds. It starts with you guys getting together. It starts with you guys start lifting each other with positive music, positive movies, positive stuff, positive entertainment. It's going to start with you, because people can come in and build, but if you don't change that environment, they're going to kick you out that environment, and they're going to rent that environment to either foreigners or to either people who are going to come in and pay and do right by the environments. And then you're going to be pushed further and further and further down, down, down. So again, it's going to start with you guys. It's going to start with simple steps, not magical steps, not none of, just simple little things that you can rearrange and that you can do. That won't be overnight, but it'll make an impact over time. Blessings. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check me out next week. I am always posting something every week. And leave your comments below if you want me to touch on a topic, and you want something, some research, or you want a topic talked about, or you want some just leave your stuff below. I'll get with you, look over it in the comments, and I'll definitely get it done for you. A young lady reached out and she said, can you talk more about mental illness? I said, I sure will. So guys, whatever you're looking for, let me know. Blessings. Bye-bye.